Hey guys, been a little while since I've done a video. Um, I know a bunch of you have been clamoring for some additional installments of the jazz series that I started doing a long time ago, and I promise you that is in the works. I've been rethinking that a little bit, and I have some ideas, so I promise you it's coming, but just not quite yet. So tonight I wanted to do a third installment of original records that I have from 1989. And I'll start this off again, like I usually do, with a quick little intro on why I do this. So 1989 was sort of the beginning of vinyl's dark age. CDs had been outselling vinyl for 3 years, and cassettes had been outselling vinyl for about 6 years. A lot of record stores had stopped selling vinyl altogether, and they had repurposed their vinyl bins to sell CDs, which is why CDs used to come in those long boxes so that retailers could use their LP bins and didn't need new shelving to display CDs. And that's exactly what a lot of them did. And so, by 89, the major labels and indies as well were still pressing all of their newly released titles on vinyl, but the problem is you just couldn't find them anywhere. And so a lot of just a lot of these titles, they sold, even the big selling ones that sold millions and millions of copies. They didn't sell millions and millions of copies on vinyl. They sold it on CD and cassette. So, you can find all these titles on vinyl, but they're tough to find, especially clean. And yeah, and it's sad because 89 was such a great year for popular music. It didn't matter if it was rock, more traditional pop, country, hip hop. I mean, you name it. There was so much great stuff that came out that year. And so, over the last year, since I did the part two installment, I've amassed some more from that year, and I just wanted to show it to you guys. So, first up, we've got this record, self-titled record by a Swedish group. I think they were. Yeah, they were Swedish, I believe. And they're called Alien. And this record is, I don't know, it's just a pretty run-of-the-mill 80s rock record. I mean, there's nothing super standoutish about it, which is probably why Alien didn't really have a ton of commercial success, because there were just so many other bands out there that were doing the same kind of music and just, doing it a little bit better. There's nothing wrong with this album, but I can understand why they didn't have a ton of success. But, it's worth putting on every now and again. This one's a promo copy. You can see the gold promo stamp there on the back. And then Warner always made a habit of affixing the hype sticker directly to the jacket on promo copies. And then I love these when you play it, say it stickers. Those were meant as a reminder to radio DJs that when you play one of these songs on the air, make sure you say who the artist is so people know. All right. Next up, we got a absolute fucking scorcher. So this is the self-titled debut from a group called Badlands. Badlands was a bit of a super group, I guess. So you have Jakey Lee on guitar, who was Ozzy Osbourne's guitar player in the mid-'80s. Then you've got Ray Gillen on vocals, who was coming off a very brief stint in Black Sabbath. He wasn't on any Black Sabbath albums, but he did tour with them for a while and did record some stuff in the studio that ended up on the Eternal Idol album, but with Tony Martin singing the vocals. And then you've also got Eric Singer on drums, who would eventually leave Badlands to join Kiss after their drummer Eric Carr died. And Eric Singer was with Kiss for a very, very long time, save for the period where they had reunited with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley. But once Peter Criss left, they brought Eric Singer back in, and he was with them until the very end in 2023. So good pedigrees on that album, and that is just one badass hard rocking album. It's wonderful. All right, next up, if you're only going to own one Pat Benatar record, you could do a whole lot worse than Best Shots. This is a killer greatest hits compilation. got every Pat Benatar song that you know and love on it. And so, you know, if she's one of those where you think a greatest hits compilation will do, this is the one you want right here. All right. I grabbed this one in Europe over the summer, and I really, really enjoyed this. I took a chance on it purely based on the cover. I just love the cover. The band is called Bliss, and this album's called Love Prayer. And initial impressions of it when I played it was that it sounded to me like if Enya started a rock band. And I know that sounds a little strange, but that's really the best way I can describe it. I really, really liked this, so I had to bring it home. I actually streamed a few tracks from this in the record store while I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to buy it. All right, this was a huge one sent to me by a friend. This is Cher's album, Heart of Stone. This has some of her really big hits from the 80s, If I Could Turn Back Time, Just Like Jesse James, even the title track, Heart of Stone. And the great thing about this is there were two covers for this album, and it wasn't a case of, you know, one being banned and being replaced or anything. It was just there were two covers released at the time. So there was the one that you see the most, which is just Cher's face here with, you know, Cher, Heart of Stone. And then there was this one, what they call the skull cover. You can see here the teeth on her dress. And then if you look at it from afar, the whole picture, it kind of makes like a skull. And I just really love this cover. So I'm glad that the copy I have is this cover. You know, no saw marks in it, no condition issues. This thing is beautiful. It's also worth noting with Cher that she put out 3 albums for Geffen Records between 1987 and 1991. And so she had her self-titled Cher album in 87. She had Heart of Stone in 89 that I just showed you, and then Love Hurts in 1991. And all 3 of those albums are perfect 10s in my book. You know, Cher has a very large discography, and not all of it is great, I'll be honest, but she is an American treasure, and when she really hit, she hit hard. And those 3 Geffen records are ones that just went to show that when you hooked her up with good songs and a good producer, the sky was the limit. So if you ever see any of those 3 albums, I would highly recommend getting them because they're all fantastic. All right, so this is a great pop album as well. This is Raw Like Sushi. I can never remember the name of this album, but yeah, Raw Like Sushi by Neneh Cherry. And a couple of the songs from this were all over the radio when I was a kid. I was 10 in 1989, so but I remember at least 1 or 2 of these songs being on the radio back in the day. So great pop album, very, very well produced, and you know, it still plays pretty good today. You know, it's aged about as well as albums like this can age. So. All right, here's some kick-ass metal. This is probably my 2nd favorite Exodus album behind Bonded by Blood, but this is Fabulous Disaster. This came out on Combat in '89. This one's got a gold promo stamp on the back too. And I mean, this is just good, solid, heavy thrash metal. Just exactly what you would expect from Exodus. You know, if you were going to expand the big 4 thrash bands, you know, Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax and Slayer, if you were to expand that out to the big 8, I think you would probably add Exodus and Testament, Death Angel, and probably Overkill. So Exodus was right up there in thrash royalty. All right, I'll be the first one to admit I am not the hugest fan of the Indigo Girls, but I love this first album. Oh, it's so good. And I mean, honestly, I think their song Closer to Fine, which is on this album, I think that's one of the greatest songs ever written, if I'm being perfectly honest. So, you know, Indigo Girls are a little folky, so, I mean, you know, they're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And like I said, they're really not my cup of tea either, but God, do I love that first album. All right, so this is just some easygoing R&B. This is the album Slammer by A.C. Kelly. This is pretty well forgotten at this point. Um, Nobody ever really talks about him anymore. There were a couple of decent songs on here. This album I would say is solidly mediocre, but I liked it when I was a kid, and so I just kind of have it for sentimental reasons. This one's also got a gold promo stamp. One thing you're going to find if you ever get into trying to get original copies of 1989 albums, for a lot of them, the copies with the gold promo stamp are easier to find than the ones that were sent to record stores. I mean, it's just that simple. And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how little. I mean, people were so over vinyl by 1989. It's not even funny. My, how times have changed. All right. So next one, we got some killer 80s country. This is Picking on Nashville by the Kentucky Headhunters. And these guys had an enormous country hit in 89 and into 1990 with a song called Dumas Walker. And of course, that's on this album. But this record is just slamming top to bottom. It's so good. All right. These guys had a lot of talent. All right, next. This is a Kiss album everybody loves to hate, man. Here's Hot in the Shade. This was supposed to be a comeback album because 1989 was the year for comeback albums for artists from the 60s and 70s that had spent most of their career maybe not most of their career, but had spent most of the 80s in commercial purgatory. And I mean, I can name a ton of them, right? I could probably do an entire video on 80s comeback albums. But Hot in the Shade was Kiss's alleged comeback album. And, it's still no makeup era, which I love no makeup Kiss. I love 80s Kiss. I love albums like Lick It Up. Hell, I even like Crazy Nights. So, anyway, people love to hate on this album. And I mean, is it the best Kiss album? No, but it's really not that. It's nowhere near as bad as people make it sound. And honestly, I think the main reason why everyone hates this album so much is just because it has Forever on it, which actually turned out to be one of Kiss's biggest hits. It was co-written with Michael Bolton, of all people. But I don't get all the hatred. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that it's a, top 5 or probably even top 10 Kiss album, but I mean, is it really as bad as people say? No, I really don't think it is. All right. So this rapper is kind of forgotten these days, and it's really sad because, man, he was very popular and very well known in the late 80s. So this is an album called Knowledge is King by Kool Moe Dee. Kool Moe Dee was one of the biggest influences on sort of the whole conscious hip hop genre. And the stuff that he did was just very thoughtful and really, really great. I love Kool Moe Dee. But like I said, a lot of people don't really, talk about him or remember him anymore. All right, so this is another just solid poppy 80s R&B album. So this is I Suggest You Don't Let Go by Krystol, Krystol. And there's a couple of good songs on here. Again, it's sort of like that A.C. Kelly Slammer album. I remember this record from when I was a kid, and it's just one of those that, I just kind of have for sentimental value because I remember a few of these songs. Yet again, another gold promo stamp up there. Because like I said, on a lot of these titles, those are easier to find than the ones that were sent to record stores, especially the R&B type stuff. Because a lot of the people that were buying that stuff in '89 were kids, and we were all buying stuff on cassette back then. All right, this is a cool album. So this is an album called The Power of Lard. It's actually an EP. If If you don't know Lard, Lard was a collaboration. It was a short-lived band collaboration between Jello Biafra of the Dead Kennedys and Al Jorgensen and two other members of Ministry. So the funny thing is, it sounds nothing like Ministry. It sounds nothing like the Dead Kennedys, which I suppose is good. It sounds like Lard. I'll be the first to tell you this will not be everyone's cup of tea, but I love it because it's just strange and funny in a way, and it's killer. I love it. All right, some excellent 80s metal. So, yeah, this is Master of Disguise by Lizzie Borden. And Lizzie Borden is another band that people kind of forget about these days, but man, did they put out some good stuff. The album before this one, it was called Visual Lies. I think it came out in 87. That is one of my favorite like hair adjacent albums of all time. All right, here's some more 80s hip hop. This is Eyes on This by MC Lyte. And I think I've mentioned MC Lyte before, but the thing that I always think about with her is that in addition to her rapping, and she was a fine rapper back in the day, but the thing I always think about is on Heavy D's album Nothing But Love from 1993. That album opens up with a whole bunch of Heavy D's friends and colleagues calling and leaving voicemails for him and just, talking about Heavy D. And MC Lyte is one of the people that left one of those voicemails in the song. And she said, the thing that I like about Heavy D is that he's one of those types of rappers that you can listen to in front of your mother. And even more importantly than that, your mother's going to want to listen to it too. So that's grand when you're listening to Heavy D. And for whatever reason, anytime somebody mentions MC Lyte, that's the first thing I think of. It's not one of her tracks or one of her albums. It's that. All right. This was another great album from '89. This is Flowers in the Dirt by Paul McCartney. I love this album so much. And, I know that people were pretty lukewarm on it, I think, when it came out. But I don't think that there's much to complain about on this record, to be perfectly honest. Figure of Eight is a wonderful song. I like Rough Ride. Distractions is great. That Day's Done. How Many People? There's a lot of good stuff on here. And believe me, I'm not the biggest Beatles solo fan. I mean, I think I have very little John Lennon. I don't have a ton of McCartney. George Harrison is really the Beatle that I think had the best solo career personally, and I'll fight you on that. All right, next up, some just classic 80s hair metal. So this is Mr. Big's self-titled debut. Oh, killer. Just loud, rowdy, fun. Just the way you want good hair metal. All right, this is a big one right here. Yeah. It's kind of a shame. A little bit of ripping on the spine. But anyway, this is the Shine EP by Mother Love Bone. Mother Love Bone would eventually go on to more or less become Pearl Jam once the lead singer Andrew Wood died. Andrew Wood probably would have been one of the most famous frontmen in rock history had he managed to live a little bit longer. But that's okay. Mother Love Bone gave us this and also gave us one full-length album. And don't have the full-length album. I probably should, but I don't. But yeah, Shine EP is just wonderful. So, okay. Yes. So this is an album called Deep by Peter Murphy. And I can't say enough good things about this record. This is very much in the vein of I don't know, like 80s like alternative rock. Yeah, I'm talking like Echo and the Bunnymen, REM style of 80s alternative rock, right? That sort of vein, not, Jane's Addiction or Faith No More or anything like that. This is a lot more of like Echo and the Bunnymen and, the Smiths, The Cure. You like that, you'll like this stuff. All right. This was another big album from the year. So this is The Other Side of the Mirror by Stevie Nicks. This is actually the one and only copy of this I've ever seen, which is why I own it. The jacket's in pretty good shape. Got a little bit of issues up there, but nothing that I care about. And it's got the custom inner sleeve with it. It's got a lyric insert, whole 9 yards. So, oh yeah, that's right. This was in, I think this was in shrink wrap when I bought it because I saved the hype sticker. And then, what do we got? Yeah, got the custom inner sleeve. So, yeah, good stuff. And I mean, in terms of the quality of the albums compared to some of the other solo records she did in the 80s, I mean, I think it's pretty on par. Is it better than, why am I blanking on the name of it? The album that's got Edge of 17 on it. I can't think of the name of it right now. I can think of the cover, but is it better than that? Probably not. But it's great. If you've never heard it, check it out. All right. NRBQ is another band that is definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but I've always liked the stuff of theirs that I heard. This is actually the one and only NRBQ album I've ever seen on vinyl, and it just happened to be their 1989 release. Some Wild Weekends, so. All right, what else we got? An all-time hip-hop classic, and one that no library should be without. Here is an original pressing of NWA's Straight Outta Compton. This copy happens to be in really great shape, and it's got kind of an early version of the parental advisory right down there. And this album was so influential, and without this, hip-hop, modern hip-hop as we know it, would sound entirely different. You cannot possibly overstate what an important record this is. It's a shame Roy Orbison didn't live long enough to see this become a huge hit. But not long after he died, this came out as Mystery Girl. And this was all stuff that he was working on while he died. And it turned out that that You Got It ended up being one of the biggest hits of his career. And as I said, it's a shame that he wasn't around to see it. This was produced by Jeff Lynne. It's got a nice gatefold cover. And this was produced by Jeff Lynne, who, a VLO, who was bandmates with Orbison at the time in the Traveling Wilburys, along with Tom Petty and Bob Dylan and George Harrison. And so Jeff Lynne produced that. And it's a great record. And like I said, You Got It was such a big hit when I was a kid. All right, next up, some more absolutely slamming 80s thrash. So this is The Years of Decay by Overkill. Again, if you expanded the big four of thrash out to the big eight, Overkill's definitely on the list. So these guys, like Exodus, are thrash royalty. All right. Next up, we got another sort of comeback album. So this is The Miracle by Queen. And, I really like these later Queen albums. And I don't know, I really like this one a lot. They just sounded, I don't know, I guess the last couple of records before this one, they just sounded like they were spinning their wheels a little bit, and then I don't know, on the Miracle, it just seems like they got a little bit of traction. But that's just my own personal observation. That one, I think fans are pretty mediocre on. I mean, I don't think people hate it, but a lot of people don't really love it either. But I've always enjoyed it. All right, this straight up Ramones fans, you can come for me all you want. This is one of my favorite Ramones albums of all time, Brain Drain. So this came out on Sire Records. This was the last album for Sire Records. This was also the last album with Dee Dee Ramone on it. And this actually had probably one of the closest things the Ramones ever had to an actual hit single. They did the title track to the movie Pet Sematary, and that's on this. And yeah, I've always enjoyed Brain Drain, and I know a lot of Ramones fans are not very hot on Brain Drain, but you know, in the end, I don't think the Ramones ever actually put out an objectively bad album. I mean, when you've put out, I think they put out either 13 or 14 studio albums. And I mean, when you have that many albums, of course, some are going to be better than others. But I've never understood what the issue was with Brain Drain. I love that record to bits. All right, here's one from an absolute guitar god. This is Flying in a Blue Dream by Joe Satriani. When that man picks up a guitar, I listen. I swear to God, I would listen to him play nursery rhymes. Oh, God. Joe Satriani is such a great guitar player. All right. This is another, I don't know if it's a hot take, but probably a warm take. So, Street Fighting Years by Simple Minds. I think this is Simple Minds' best album, front to back. And it was a big change for them because after all of the success that they had in the mid-'80s with Alive and Kicking and Sanctify Yourself and Don't You Forget About Me, they wanted to do something different, and they did, and they suffered commercially for it. This album definitely did not sell as well as the stuff they did in the mid-'80s, but artistically, this thing is a complete triumph. This album is so good, so well written, so well produced. Yeah, if you know anything Simple Minds did from the 80s and you've never heard this album, check it out at least once and see what you think. It's really great. All right, so this is another one I grabbed in Europe over the summer. This is The Work of Idle Hands by Slammer. And again, this one did not come out in the US originally. And it came out in Europe, in the UK and Europe. And this is just good 80s metal. You know, it's definitely a major label production. So, you know, it sounds really good. And it's, you know, maybe a little bit light on the grit and maybe a little bit heavy on the polish. But it's great. I really like it. And that's an album that I had learned about a long time ago. And, you know, like I said, it never came out originally in the US. So, yeah, so I was glad to find this. Okay. It was not until very, very, very recently. How I didn't know this, how I've spent 46 years on this planet, not knowing that David Bowie was ever in a rock band in the late 80s and early 90s, I will never know. But I had no idea until very recently. So this is my most recent 1989 acquisition. This is the very first album from Tin Machine, self-titled. And this was David Bowie, Reeves Gabrels, and then brothers Hunt and Tony Sales. And if I remember correctly, Bowie had toured with these guys in the 70s. And, you know, it's just kind of funny that, like, David Bowie spends the first 20 plus years of his solo career, or first 20 plus years of his career, rather, as a solo artist. And then he's just like, yeah, let's join a rock band. Why not? This thing, this thing has so much blistering guitar on it. Oh, so much fun to listen to. This is outstanding. So good. If you've never heard it, you really need to check it out. Even if you're not a big fan of David Bowie's 80s stuff, doesn't matter. Listen to that. You'll love it. All right, this one is another just unbelievable record. So this is the debut from Toad the Wet Sprocket. It's called Bread and Circus. And originally this came out on a self-released cassette in '88, I believe. And then the band got signed to Columbia Records, and Columbia gave it a wider release and put it on LP and CD for the first time. And so this is an original copy. And there are a ton of great songs on here. If you like any of Toad the Wet Sprocket's, popular albums from the early and mid '90s, there's no way you won't love this if you've never heard it. It's so good. All right. And the last one in the same vein as A.C. Kelly and Crystal. This is an album by Zahn. And again, white label promo. Or, well, not white label, but it's a promo copy. And and yet again, this is another one that I have purely for sentimental value because I remember one or two of these songs on the radio when I was a kid. So, it's just pretty standard run-of-the-mill R&B from that period. So there you go, guys. That's the latest installment of stuff that I've had. And hope you enjoyed the video. And look forward to more content in the near future. So have a good one, everybody.